Hello, friendos. Welcome back. It's I, DrBossKey, and today we are going to go through how I set up the... What did I set up? How I set up the Pacifist mode. Yes. I'm actually doing this because I have to re-implement this for each of the levels, because in SHMUP Creator right now, while you can copy a level, you can't copy things between levels. So you have global assets. But real quick, how about I just pop into this and to give you a sense of what's up. So we're here. If you grab this weapon stripper, is what I'm calling it. Pacifist mode gets activated, which you can see here. And during pacifist mode, full disclosure, if you do die during pacifist mode, there are small gaps in which you can still fire your weapon. Also in this case, because I have a super weapon, and I allow you to essentially go into this with a full super weapon, you can also use your super weapon. So I'm err on the side, like for a clever player, if they want to use that to min-max, totally good. For everyone else, if they don't, that's all right too. So yeah, so while it's possible to fire your weapon, you can see these Buddhas that fly into you, so they're there as well. So, and then when you complete pacifist mode, I give you item plate choices, so which you can see here. Yeah, so how did we do that? All right, so let's pop over. And it's funny because as a little pro tip, I've been recording things that I do for setup, because I can go through the recording, pause it, and see what the setups are through the video while I'm re-implementing it for other levels. So, okay, so, all right. First off, we have the, what I'm just calling the weapon stripper. It doesn't have a pole. It's not that kind of stripper, so, watch out. But it's basically an item. An item class here, and there I made it red because I want players to not. I wanted to second guess where they want to pick it up, right? Like this is one of the first things you encounter in the game, so I'm trying to, I'm making it there for pros. I'm seeing whether or not other players who are getting started get it or not. But even if they do, it's not the end of the world. It just means that they get to focus on maneuvering first. So item plate. This item plate here, the item life is set to infinite. I don't want it to disappear. All the basic bits with particles and whatnot. On the collision side, nothing special there. I also want to give you an incentive here for basically picking it up. So one of the best ways to achieve the highest scores in the game will be taking these risk reward items. And I really want to propagate the pacifist mode across the different levels. So I made points for this 500,000. Now, the kind of cool thing is that if you also kill all the enemies kind of leading up to this in just the right kind of way, then you have a multiplier, which then hits on top of the score. So then you get some buku big points. So, but I don't want to pick something big because I want players to, essentially, it's risk versus reward. So I want players to be able to achieve more points by going into pacifist mode and to get a couple of rewards on the backside, as opposed to feeling like they just want to keep the kills going. So with their normal multiplier. So that was the thinking behind that. And then here it basically points to one of the weapon sets we have. We call it set 14, which is empty. So I'll give you guys a shot, a view of what that looks like. So over here, if I go into my player, so there you can see the different weapon sets that we have. And one of the things I did is I wanted to have, just like for the tutorial, I have basically a weapon set that doesn't have it has empty slots, so it doesn't have anything in it. And so what I'm doing is I'm using that item plate to set your weapon slots, to set it to set 14 to take away all your weapons. So when you press any of the buttons, except for the super, because it's controlled by a different thing. And like, again, it's a shortcoming of how we implemented this. So the other thing is that one of the side effects that I have with the way that I've set up my game is that if you come into gameplay, let's see here. Is it here? Aha. So I have here, I really like this. So Space Megaforce, which is a fantastic game on the NES. And at least I think it's NES. Might have been the Super Nintendo. It was in the Wayback Machine. I got to look again. But one of the things I loved about that game was that as you took damage, it would decrement your weapon sets. And so your life and ship, like your ship, like longevity, wasn't just these one-shot kills, which I was really cool. So in this game, in SHMUP Creator, we have the ability to, when you die, We can do nothing. In our case, we're decrementing one weapon set, so then there's some risk, or there's some penalty for actually dying, which is that, you know, if there's no penalty for dying, there's no reason to try hard, right? And I didn't want to go with the classic Gradius side of things, where you basically lose all your weapon sets. Still could be a thing, and especially when we get to the point where we can set difficulty levels, this might be a thing we can actually tune. Hey, Sonny, if you're out there watching, thanks. And also, it would be nice, I was kind of playing this idea, if we could set the amount of weapon sets that decrement, because we have a lot of weapon sets in our game, and sometimes losing one, like maybe I want you to lose 4, you know, and it goes back to, so maybe I want to play with that a little bit more so I could dial it, but that's pretty much the thinking there. So you guys have that. What that also means is that because you're in pacifist mode, and if you die, then what happens is that it takes that weapon set that we were just looking at, and because we set it to 14, it goes to regular 14. And so you actually get one of granted, it's not quite, it's a pretty strong weapon set because you have to earn your way up to it. But that then means that you could kind of cheat the system. So in order to work around that, a little janky, we basically have a trigger property here, which is when the player goes into the zone. We trigger the pacifist mode activated, and then we have item boxes. So I decided to kind of do this, and this works for me in my space. And each one of these item boxes essentially spawns an item type, which is called pacifist item. And the pacifist item type, so we got this guy here, and then we have this one here. Okay. So the pacifist item type, in this particular one, so these ones spawn, the cool thing is when the trigger gets activated, then all of these become active in the world, and then as the camera progresses through the world, then you get these, the pacifist item types that spawn at each of these. So these keep flying into the player at that point. And then so what happens is, let's see here, blah, 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 and we go here. Blair. Okay, so then what we're doing is every time this item flies into the player, and we'll make it more sparkly and cool later on, but it's resetting the player's set to set 14 empty. So if you happen to die and it decrements your weapon set, you only have a little bit of time in which you can actually shoot, and then one of these pacifist items fly back into your ship over the duration of how long you're supposed to survive. And then they keep resetting your slot, your weapon set. And then at the very end, we have this one here. So this one is an alternate, which then this sets the weapon set to set 1. And so let's see here. What we have is, all right, each of these, they do their thing. And then when you get to the end, as the player progresses through, so let's kind of give you the shot there. So as the player progresses through here, we have one of the last item plates here. Oh, the other side you probably should know. So attached to this trigger is also basically what I call, it's basically just an enemy type. So this enemy is hidden, and then what happens is that it wakes up when that trigger volume occurs. And then once it's awake, we have the ability to use a death trigger. I'll go over this in a second. But basically, we spawn it. It spawns outside of the frame so the player doesn't see it, which is totally fine as long as it's here where the camera's at least activated, right? And then what happens is that we have a trigger volume here. So that spans the whole screen. And then when the player enters this trigger volume, it then kills the pacifist trigger enemy, just an enemy type, right? There's nothing special about it. And then that we have a trigger which is connected enemy state is all dead. And then from there, this trigger triggers the pacifist mode completed. It triggers the items that you get for the different weapon plates. So that way you have choices. And I think that is, yeah, that's all the things that does there. Okay, so then the extra little piece here, so that's the final piece, is I just make sure I have this set up. So pacifist end. Okay. So, oh, okay. So you have also the situation where the player completes pacifist mode, but then they don't pick up your weapon plates. And then what would happen is that they'd have to play the rest of the level unless they died in order to then to get their weapons. And so the game's unplayable at that point. I'm not making the whole level to be able to be played in pacifist mode. So what we have is we have this fallback here where the camera this spawns. Let's see, is it okay? So yeah, so when the player hits this zone, then we trigger one more of these, which then flies almost immediately. So I have the on the item spawn. Bloop, on this in the animation, I have the force multiplier all the way to 99. So then that icon or this item flies into the player's ship as fast as possible. And so it arrives here to set their player weapon set to 1 in this case. And then once it's set, and that way, if they decide not to get the item plates for whatever reason, then they at least have a weapon to continue in the game. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I know it's a little bit complicated, but that's why there's a video now. And now I'm going to go and implement this into each of my other levels because overall, I enjoy the gameplay that it's providing, and the risk reward, of course, and the ability to, I think, just to give players a little bit more of a dynamic way to approach levels, especially since my levels are a little bit longer. I can have sections where maybe I think that they could be a lot of fun to survive in pacifist mode. So yeah, I probably maybe one last little thing here is when I activate. Is it here? Is it here? Let's see. So that becomes active. Is it? I got to look in again because I didn't look for myself on where I spawn. Looking for the VO. So let's take a look here. So I have the trigger here. You go into the zone. Text happens. Did I have anything hooked up to this? Was that it? Nope. Okay. Where did I put that? Is it here? It wouldn't be here because I re-trigger that each time, right? Just double check. Just double checking. So particle systems, the sound just went up. Okay, so where did I put this? So I put it somewhere. All right, let's see here. Let me pause real quick, find it, and then I'll come back. 1 second. Let me see. Where is my pause button? Who am I? What's going on here? There we go. Okay. Did this? Okay, cool. Yeah, so we're back. I derped a little bit. So we didn't hook up a voice. What I really want to do for my game is I'm doing these big announcers, like when I'm like super weapon online, right? So I want to have that kind of like classic Doom, multi-kill, ultra kill, maybe Killer Instinct kind of announcer overdub on that. And I'm working on that, but I haven't actually wired that up yet. So, but what I would do is I would just basically come in here and I would hook up an audio object to this. And then that way, when it triggers, then you have this big overall. Right now, the text and the text placement's all placeholder, but I need to kind of wrap it up and make it easy to understand what's happening once the player grabs that. So a big VO is a big part of that. Okay, that's it. I hope you found the tutorial interesting. I hope you guys figure out whether you want to have a pacifist mode in your game. But here's a way to do it. It's a little different for different setups, but you get the gist of it. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.